So people are getting pretty pissed off about this Helldivers patch that just came out. I haven't seen a reaction to a patch like this since February 1st or 2nd or whenever Helldivers 2 came out. And since it's blown up, there have been a ton of patches and I have not seen a reaction like this. So I made a video about it. And I'll link to that in the description, put a card up here if you don't know what's in the patch. But essentially, I'm going to break down the three biggest things here that are in the patch that people are going crazy about here. And the first one is, and shout out to IGN, who I got this originally from here, and people are just really upset about the Quasar Cannon. So the Quasar Cannon added 5 seconds to its recharge time. That's really significant. Like, if you're battling 2 chargers at once, adding 5 seconds to the reload time is significant. So people are not happy about that, but of course the patch also made a bunch of buffs as well. There's not a lot of talk about the spear. The spear is one that I use a lot. That also had an extra reload stage added to it. But people are really pissed about the Quasar Cannon. But if you just look at the Reddit, like, there's just a lot of folks that are talking about the Ricochet. Not a lot of folks happy about the Ricochet, right? So the Ricochet is utterly broken. I just spent time using both AC and EATS and had them reflected directly back at me when firing from an elevated position on an armored enemy. But is it justified, right? So this guy, Zenbast here on Reddit, says, I saw a lot of debate around the ricochets, blah, 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 blah. What exactly did the patch do? He says, for starter, the ricochet trajectories didn't change. The ricochets are the same as before the patch, but what happened is that previously your ricochets could hurt other divers, but you were immune to your own ricochets. And now you're not, basically. So maybe it's not as changed as people think, or maybe it's changed for the good. But I would say far and away what people are the most pissed about is how they're scaling up patrols on when there's less people. So like if you have 4 divers, it's the same. If you have 3 people on the team, more patrols than you would normally have gotten before the patch, 2 even more, and 1 even more. And that's where people are just going crazy about this. So yeah, people are not happy about the changes here, about the increased patrols for solo players and others. So actually, and this is the first time that I can remember, but certainly it probably has happened before. So the Worlds team put out an official statement here on Reddit just talking about specifically the increased patrols for solo players. So it's interesting that the backlash was so big that Arrowhead felt like they actually had to respond to it. So just to be clear about this, right? People are getting crazy about the more enemy patrols for less people. They said we unintentionally had non-linear scaling of the patrol spawns, so they didn't spawn as often as they should have when less than 4 players. The intention is that 1 player has a quarter of the patrols compared to 4 players, but it used to be they had 1/6. So essentially they're saying that the solo missions and such were too easy before, and that was a mistake, and they're trying to correct the mistake rather than just arbitrarily making it hard. And I think they said something like that. And there it is. We're not making the game arbitrarily harder, exclamation point. So they also said scaling up patrol spawns was exponential before, and that felt good on 4-player lobbies, but a bit too empty when playing with fewer players, especially when playing solo. So now we made the scaling of patrols linear, which means if you play solo, you will get 25% of the patrols compared to a 4-player lobby instead of having about 17% of the patrols. So it was just too easy. They're just what they were getting less than a quarter. You know, you have a quarter of the people, but you weren't getting a quarter of the patrols. So Arrowhead said, hey, like, let's just make it linear, right? Like 75% for 3 players, 50% of the patrols for 2, 25% for 1, and now they're just making it 25%. So people are very upset about this. So, and obviously to the point where they actually had to make a statement. They haven't said anything that I have found about the Quasar Cannon. There's a lot of people that have been saying, you see this headline here. Well, this says nerfs and buffs, but when I originally saw it, the headline for this IGN article said that Helldivers 2 players are worried that Arrowhead is patching out their fun, and they specifically called out the Quasar Cannon as being something that patched out the fun. I mean, ultimately, this all sounds fine to me. This is the biggest backlash, though, that I've seen to a Helldivers 2 patch, and I get it. I mean, if it's hard enough to stay alive when you are battling automatons in huge numbers, and if you're getting ricocheted back, I mean, you're going to see yourself dying more now. It just is what it is. So whether they made it back to normal or what it should have been or not, the fact remains you're just going to die more now in situations you weren't used to. I mean, if you've been playing this, hundreds of hours and you're used to playing a certain way, now all of a sudden you're getting ricochets off of tanks when you're shooting them, or heavies when you're shooting them, or any of those, any automatons, or armor on bugs. I mean, you're just not going to be used to dying that much. I mean, you're not used to it, so now you have to come up with a strategy to avoid those things. That can be annoying. I haven't tested it myself, but I can see why some players are feeling that way. And the Quasar Cannon has been super popular since it came out a month ago or whatever it was, because it's been one of the few things that can take out the armored bugs, the heavies, like, easier, right? Not to mention, you can shoot the drop ships out of the air, the automaton drop ships out of the air with the Quasar Cannon. And so it's been something that people have loved, and that's probably part of the reason. Like, they just thought it was probably too OP. So there we go. Adding 5 seconds of reload time did that, and they haven't responded to that. It already feels long when you're reloading the Quasar Cannon, and the enemy patrols thing, it seems fine. It seems absolutely fine. I'll go in there and play solo and try, and if I see anything crazy, I'll let you guys know and I'll make another video. But I just wanted to fill you in on what's going on here, because we haven't usually seen that much controversy around a patch before, and I wanted to sort of clear the air on these things. Okay, like and subscribe if you wanna, and I'll see you in the next video.